Hi everyone, great to be with you. Emron and Andrew from dCS here joining you from Reference Analog. We are going to talk to you a little bit about the dCS Rossini Apex streaming network player. This is our top of the line all-in-one unit, and there's some exciting things that we want to point out with regards to this streaming network player. Really, I think, Andrew, we can talk a little bit about how the Rossini is essentially a distillation of what takes place in the Vivaldi over the course of multiple units that is distilled down into one real high-performing model. And this is part of a family. The Rossini range includes actually 4 different models, and there are 2 here that we're going to talk specifically about. The Rossini Apex network streaming player on top, and then its associated master word clock on the bottom. But just to, I guess, point out a couple things with regards to functionality of this particular unit, as is the case that you'll find with our Lena players as well as the Bartok. This is a full-featured network streaming player. It has network input, USB, AES, SPDIF. I mean, really, if there's a 1 or 0 that you want to throw at this, we've got a way to be able to accommodate you. And also onboard volume control, so really it makes for a tremendous high-performing front end that can go straight into an amplifier or into a pair of active speakers. Really versatile unit. But the real, I think, point to make about this is how it sets itself apart from some of the other models lower in our range, for instance, the Bartok and the Lena. What we have going on here, in addition to a more sophisticated digital processing platform, is also things like power supplies. There are dual power supplies found inside of this particular unit, one that is dedicated to the digital section, one that is dedicated to the analog section, and all of these different aspects, including the Apex architecture, which is derived directly from the Vivaldi, these all elevate performance, and that's what you can expect. But another thing, I guess I'll turn it over to Andrew to speak to, is the upgradability. And this is something that is certainly available to all of our models, but let's talk about it with respect to Rossini. Andrew, you want to talk a little bit about the master clock?
Yeah, absolutely. So in common, as Emron says, with all our units, we have a clock built into the DAC. And this times the actual conversion process. It's absolutely critical to the fidelity of the digital to analog conversion process. So we have 2 clock crystals inside the DAC, one for each sample rate family, as we call them, the family that's based on 44.1 kilohertz and its multiples, and then the other family that's based on 48 kilohertz and its multiples. And then the converter chooses the one appropriate for the material that it's converting. However, these clocks are highly sensitive, and there's an awful lot going on inside this chassis, and it's sensitive to different sources of interference. Could be heat-based, could be EMI, electronic magnetic interference-based, could be physical vibration, etc. And all of those, there are sources of all of those different forms of interference here in the DAC chassis. So the very place that we want to have the DAC is also compromised from a pure performance perspective. So what we discovered very early on is if we put those same clock crystals into a dedicated chassis, which we can optimize from a performance perspective purely around the needs of the clock crystals, we can achieve a much better performance. We lower the short-term timing variations known as jitter. And what the engineers invented was a way to connect these 2 together such that the external master clock is acting almost like a digital flywheel for the clocks in the DAC itself. So the clocks in the DAC itself are still the ones that are timing the conversion process, but the short-term jitter, the small amounts of jitter that are caused by these sources of interference in the DAC chassis are evened out by the clock crystals in the master clock. So this is a way of upgrading the performance of actually any of the DACs in our range. We have a clock in the Lena series, we have this clock in the Rossini series, and we have a clock in the Vivaldi series. And any one of these clocks will elevate the performance of any one of our DACs.
Yeah, and it really does. It speaks to, I think, one of the pillars of dCS, which is upgradability. When you invest into a dCS platform such as a Rossini Apex here, it's nice to be able to know that this is a dynamic platform that can be elevated and improved through things such as hardware upgrades and external upgrades by things such as adding a master clock in this particular case. That's optional but will elevate the performance. But there's also things such as software upgrades. You know, we control and write all of our own software, and so as we have the opportunity to develop new mappers, new algorithms for being able to perform the conversion itself, new filters, new features, that those will take place over the air network, and they are free of cost, and yet another further way that we protect your investment. This is such an exciting platform in that, in terms of an all-in-one package, yeah, it's such an admirable performing product, and it speaks to its popularity. But yeah, this is absolutely, if you're looking for something like a Vivaldi, but not as many chassis, this is where it's at. Some other components that are in this family that we should point out is there's also an optional Super Audio CD transport. And then there's another variant of the Rossini, which actually incorporates a CD section. So for folks out there that like to spin discs, there's a CD player variant of the Rossini. All other features share in common. It just has a CD mechanism built in. But if you're looking for super audio CD playback, the dedicated SACD transport is a great option. But Rossini, got to come down, give it a listen. Come on down to Reference Analog.